I have to be careful here. Every Battletech player, every mech warrior has their favorite mech. There's a number of machines that I play regularly that for whatever reason, for various reasons, I love them. I mean, these are the quirks of the Battletech narrative, the Battletech universe. And if we're jumping into that narrative, look, any mech, you're literally a modern knight, a futuristic knight of the realm. So any mech is a good mech. But jumping into the Tactica, we're going to build the checklist here. And I'm going to ask you guys in the comments, what makes a light mech really bad? What's that checklist of light mechs where it's like, okay, here are the 5 things in every, there's about 5 or 6 things in every weight class. You know, the 5 things that really make a machine excel. An example in the higher weight classes of heavies and assaults, redundancy. This idea that to hit in Battletech, if you fire 2 or 3 of the same weapon, even with all the modifiers stacking up and down, there's a better chance of hitting. You know, we see this with the longbow, the archer, the warhammer, the marauder. That's a positive check in the Tactica for heavy and assault mechs. So every weight class has these checklists that we want to look. Now, there are a couple of mechs that deliberately break the role because there's certain things like in a weight class you just don't see. The idea is to take the meta and mix it up. A great example would be the Charger as a scout assault mech. An example in the light mechs would be the Panther. Having a PPC, even though it's only 1, having a PPC on a light mech is like, that's interesting. That is really, really interesting. That is really, really potent. PPC is one of the best weapons in the game in terms of range and damage. And you have to deal with heat, but as a light mech only mounting 1, it kind of works. So we're going to build the checklist of things that we're looking for. We are looking for in a light mech. And then I'll turn it over to you guys in the comments for some of these mechs that just don't live up to that checklist. And again, realizing a mech is a mech and out there it's someone's favorite mech. So the first thing with a light mech is speed, of course. In many ways, if you get hit, armor is there for making a mistake. When you get hit with a light mech, a lot of things went wrong. And that's being a little bit harsh. Sometimes it's hard to do with positioning, facing, initiative, mission values. I mean, there was one time I was playing a game and I had my Stinger, for whatever reason, the Stinger was able to grab the hidden objective. So now the Stinger has this objective, and I literally have to run through the front advancing line of Davian heavies. And I'm like 1 or 2 hexes away. And predictably, I just got blasted to shreds, and that mech warrior went to the ranks of the dispossessed. But mission-wise, like I had no choice. So you look at that alone, you look at that and you're like, well, Fritz, that's just crazy. That's poor Tactica. I had no choice with it. I had to go for the glory. I had to make it out of there. And I couldn't pass. The irony being the other mech that's nearby is the Blackjack. I always love playing the Blackjack. So that's nearby. I can't even do the handoff to the Blackjack because it doesn't have hands. So we got to run with the Stinger. So speed. Speed keeps you safe from not getting hit by stacking the modifiers. A slow urban mech just gets a pass on everything because I realize everything in this checklist is like Irby's bad. Irby is myth status. He's like boss level 99, so he's just out of the equation. But speed, I mean, why would you take a light mech with no speed? That's the first question to ask. Second would be jump jets. Jump jets. Now, we can kind of get away with it with the Jenner, other builds that don't have jump jets. But if we're taking a light mech with speed, jump jets are important, and we got to do a Tactica on some jump jetology, simply because jump jets let you change facing, they let you hop over buildings, hop over terrain. They kind of take a 2D game to a 3D game, and that's before we get to death from above. I always do death from above on a side note. If there's glory, and I know better, and I do know better, but I'm like, must death from above. And I had a spider in one game where I was actually winning, so I didn't need to do death from above. Or I guess it was like, okay, I'm going to do death from above. I death from above to catapult twice, and another mech, I think it was like a marauder or something, hit all 3 times. I mean, it was just legendary. The spider, eventually the legs just folded and broke off and snapped off from the structural stress. And I didn't really do that much damage. I missed the head. I didn't do that much damage to the mechs, but that was just legendary. It's like, all right, I succeeded the first time, and we had a great laugh, and then I'm like, can I do it again? And, there's a lot you have to do. You have to set up the initiative. You have to be in the position. You could get shot out of the sky based on the phase of the game. I pull it off again. And now it's like, well, look, I pulled it off twice. I got to do it a third time. I'm just going to keep going because we got to make this happen. But jump jets, looking at jump jets. Next is primary weapons. Mechs that, for their primary weapon, let's look at the Locust for a second. A lot of light mechs, the primary weapon will be a medium laser. You only have the tonnage for one, but a medium laser's got some bite. It is a solid weapon in Battletech. Good range, 5 damage, 5 heat, no ammo, saves some weight. From that perspective, you fire at every turn as soon as you're in range because you don't have to worry about ammo. That's a primary weapon that we see on light mechs. Then you'll see, look at the Locust, you'll see secondary weapons like machine guns, flamers, small lasers, things like that. But light mechs that don't mount an effective primary weapon. They just have a bizarre mix of like pop guns and machine guns where you're like, you had the tonnage for one medium laser or multiple medium lasers. Or even if it's a quirk, say like the Thorn mounting, even the Valkyrie. Look at the Valkyrie, fantastic mech. It's got the LRM-10. That has more bite, but you still have the medium laser. So there's a couple of mech builds out there, light mechs, where you're looking and you're like, why would you give a light mech all these pop guns and things like that and not at least have a primary? For me, that's the checklist. That's the entry point for light mechs. And if you're not going to have these attributes or you're going to break these attributes, it better be for something big, like, say, the Panther. And is it the Hussar? There's a light mech. I'm spacing on it. You guys there with the tech heads. It's this weird look. It's not the Mercury. Mercury is, I think, a medium. I think it's the Hussar. It's a large laser which has bite and breaks that mold. But the speed, I think it is the fastest inner sphere mech. I mean, armor bubbles are like, what armor bubbles? There's not even existent. But it's essentially just a large laser on a pair of legs. That breaks the mold, but you're trying to leverage the Tactica. Mechs that break that mold, but they don't bring anything, that's my criteria of light mechs. So your criteria for the light mechs, and for whatever reason, some of the worst light mechs in the game